Friends, in this video I am going to write a program of circular queue. So before continuing that, I am quickly going through the concept of circular queue so that you could better understand the implementation of the data structure circular queue while writing the program. So here are certain some slides. So you know the concept of the queue that is called as first in first out. Means in the queue the first person would be the first element would be removed first and the new element would be added at the last. So here are two terminologies, front and rear. Front variable represent the first person, means the person which is in front of the queue, and the rear variable pointing to the person who is at the last of the queue. So here, for example, in this queue, if the first person would be removed, for example this person would be removed, then the front pointer would point to the next person, and that if there is a new element we are going to add, then the new would be added at the last, and that would be pointed by rear variable. So here is a circular queue. So, I'm just giving you the demo that how you can imagine. So this is front pointing to the first element, and this is the rear which is pointing to the last element. So actually we have only 3 elements right now in which we have filled some values. So because of which the last element where the value is 3, that is considered as the rear, and the first element is considered as the front. And here we have given the value front equal to 0 and rear equal to 2, and you know these are the indexes. So by default front and rear always remain -1. So once we are going to add a new element, then the front would be updated as well as rear, but rear incremented as you are adding new elements into the queue. So we haven't removed any element, because of which the front is at the beginning, that is at the 0 index, and rear is at the 3rd index, so 0 1 2. So here is the full condition. For example, you can see that in the whole circular queue, every portion of the array is filled with the value. So 1 2 3 4 and 5. So we have only 5 elements placed, so because of which every index is filled with the value. So that means there is no more place to insert a new one. So that's why we can say that when front equal to 0 and rear equal to max minus 1. Max minus 1 means this size of this queue is 5. So 5 minus 1 equal to 4, because the index is going to start from 0. So 0 1 2 3 4. So at 4 rear equal to 4 and front equal to 0, we have the full condition. And here we have removed the first element. The front pointer would be updated to from 0 to 1, and the rear pointer would remain same. Here we have also removed one more element. So front pointer just incremented by 1, and you can see that this is pointed to 3. And here we have updated the rear from 5 to 6. So you can say that this was the start position of our queue, but here we are going to fill the element. So this is possible only if you are using circular queue, not in linear queue. So here you can see that in the next position that was empty, so we tried to insert an element, so we could definitely able to insert a value, so because of which the rear is equal to 1. So here you can see that we have another condition of showing the circular queue full. When the rear is equal to rear minus front, front minus 1, means if you are decrementing front by 1, and if that specific position, on that specific position we have rear, then that means the queue is full. There is no more place to add a new element, right? So here is the empty condition, means every thing is empty, means there is no value in the whole array. So front equal to -1 and rear equal to -1. So here are some concepts, an important formula which you have to keep in mind while incrementing the front as well as rear variable in circular queue particularly. So max equal to 5, front equal to rear equal to -1. We have initialized front and rear by -1 because the queue is empty. By default we just imagined that the queue is empty, so because of that this front and rear equal to -1. So here if you are incrementing rear, then this formula would apply: rear equal to rear plus 1 divided by max. So here you can see that rear equal to 0. So once you will insert first element, then rear would be updated by 0. And then after, how you will update the rear? For example, rear was 0 and you inserted one more element, so the rear would be updated by 0 plus 1, means rear plus 1, modulus of 5. So once you will calculate this, then you will get 1. So this 1 would be the next index of the element. And then after, if we have one more element, then rear plus 1 means rear is already 1, so 1 plus 1 equal to 2, 2 modulus of 5 equal to 2. Then after, if we have 2, one more element want to insert, then 2 plus 1 3, 3 divided by 5 modulus, if you are doing modulus, then you will get the remainder 3. Then 3 plus 4 1, 4 modulus of 5 equal to 4, and 4 plus 1 modulus of 5, that means 5 modulus of 5 equal to 0. So again you can see that again we are coming to the same position, means 0. And again, for example, you are adding rear plus 1 modulus of 5, then definitely here would be 0 plus 1, again starting from here 0 plus 1. So that means you are just revolving around the same array, and from last you are coming to the first position, then second, third, fourth, fifth, and again 0. So in this way you are just going to increment the rear as well as front. For front increment of front variable, you will apply the same formula. So I am just going to write a program. Definitely you will better understand that how the implementation is going. So let's write the program. So firstly I have to declare as well as initialize some variables which remain global throughout the program. So I have to declare a constant firstly to mention the size of the array. So here I am going to write max, and maximum elements would be 5. So now I would have to initialize some variables, int q max. Then after we have two more variables, front equal to -1 as well as rear equal to -1, and then we will make some functions later on. But before that we have to make a structure of the program, that how the flow of the program would go. We have to declare two more variables, int le as well as choice. So we are going to make a do while loop so that we could better understand the whole scenarios of the insertion, deletion as well as display. So here we would have a message q elements are. So by default we are going to display all the elements of queue in the beginning if there would be some elements inside the queue. So here we are going to write the constant variable q. So this is actually the array, so we are passing the array into the display queue function. Then after we have to make some choices. So these would be the choices that would be shown to the user. So what we have to write is enter choice, and again here you have to write 1, and 1 would be for insert, then 2 would be for remove, and then 3 would be for display, and then one more we have needed for to exit, right? So these would be the cases. So then we have to do a scanf, in which we have to scan the variable that would be inserted by the user, ampersand choice. So in choice variable that would be stored, and then after we have to write here switch. So inside of this we are going to write choice, and here we would declare some cases. So case 1, so how that would be responded, printf case 1 is for insertion, so that means we have to get the element from the user, and then after we have to insert, so we will definitely show a message that enter an element, right? This would be shown to user, and then that value would be scanned into the variable le, and then after we are going to call a function insert q. So inside the insert q you have to pass two variables. First one would be q, that would be an array which is global array, and second would be le, named element, that would be in which we have actually stored the user input, right? And then after we have to do the break, and case second is we have to remove an element, so definitely we have to call remove q. So inside of it we have no need to send an element, we have only needed the array from where we have to delete the element, and then break. Third case is display. So in the display again we have to pass the array only, then break, and then fourth case would be exit. So for exit we are just showing here thanks message, and then break, and last one would be default. So in the default you know that you have to show a message invalid choice. All right, invalid choice, and then \n. So now you have all defined the switch, and then in the do while loop you have to put a condition for while, that means if the choice not equal to 4, until that the do while loop would be iterated, and once you will put the choice 4, then you could not able to enter into this loop. So now one by one we have to define the functions. So on the top we are going to define the functions. So firstly we have to display elements of circular queue. So in that we have the function display queue. Alright, so inside of it we have actually passed the queue array, so int queue. So this in this local variable we have received that, and then we have to do some code. So we are not going to return any value, so that's why we have to write void. And now we have to declare a variable I for counter variable to print all the elements from the queue. So if front equal to -1, I already shown into the presentation that if front equal to -1, then that means you have to show the message that queue is empty. So you could not able to print any element, and then return means the code would not be executed anymore. Else what would be the condition? We have to use the for loop, and inside of it we have to initialize from front to rear, right? I not equal to rear, right? Because if we are coming to means front equal to rear, then that means the array is empty, because front equal to rear means front and rear both are -1. Until that we have to iterate, then I plus plus, this would not work. So I equal to I plus 1 modulus of max. I already shown you the formula in the presentation, which I am going to implement here. So inside the for loop, what I am going to write here is printf %d, and then you have to write here qi. So in this way the element would be printed here. And one more thing you have to do here is printf. So once I not equal to rear, so this is for the first element. So for example, front equal to 0 and rear equal to 0, so that means we have only one element. So at that time definitely the loop would not iterate. Why? Because I equal to 0 and I not equal to 0, so this is wrong. So at that moment you have to write here %d, and you have to write here qi. So means from the first position you would able to print here, right? Now the second function would be insertion. Insert element in circular queue. So what is the function? Insert queue, and we have two variables, queue as well as we have another variable element. So now we have to define the function. So how we would define? So firstly we have to check the condition that if the queue is not full. If the queue is full, then we would no more insert any element. So what are the conditions? So we have the condition like front equal to rear plus 1. I already shown you and discussed with you in the presentation that how this is possible. Or front equal to 0 and rear equal to max minus 1. So this is also the condition in which the queue can be considered as the full. So at that time we have to show printf queue is full, and then we have to return back. Else, in the else part, what we are going to write here is that if front equal to -1, then that means we have to update front equal to 0, because we are going to insert only the first element. So that's why already the queue was empty, so that's why we updated front by 0. And other than that, rear equal to rear plus 1 mod max. I already told you that this formula would be applied to update rear as well as front, and only we will update update the front equal to 0 when we have no element into the queue, right? Other than that, front as well as rear would be updated according to the formula. And then we are just going to insert the variable value element into the queue. Alright, so in this way we will do the insertion. So the next thing is remove. So how we will remove? Remove element from circular queue. So void remove queue. So we would have only queue variable to declare here. Why? Because we are sending only the global variable queue from the function. So now firstly we have to check that if we are going to remove, then if there is the empty array, then that means we are no more able to remove. So how we would analyze? So the only condition is, and one more variable we have to declare here, because you know that when we are going to delete any element, then before deleting we are just assigning that element into a variable, so that we could print and show the user that this was the element that has been removed. So if front equal to -1, then definitely the queue is empty, of course. So we would write here queue is empty, so we are no more to remove any element and return, right? Else, what would be the condition? So if front equal to rear, then definitely you can say that if front equal to rear, then that means front equal to rear equal to -1. Sorry, when front equal to rear, then that means we have to update the front, and once we will update the front, then that means that specific element would be removed. So this can be the condition then when only one element has been left into the queue. So at that moment, how we would remove is element equal to queue front, and then after front equal to rear equal to -1. Of course, the array would become empty. Else, we have lot more elements. In the else condition, we have lot more elements. In this way, we can say that queue front, and we have to update the front only. So the front equal to front plus 1 modulus of max. Of course, the same formula that we already discussed before. So in this way we could able to remove the specific element, and at the end we have to print here the elements which we have removed. So \n removed element is %d, and that would be le. So now it's time to do the testing that our program is going to work here or not. So we have the actually display Q, capital Q, that's why we got the error. Okay, so here are some choices, and by default Q is empty because there is no element. So in the first, I actually choose the first choice, so I am just inserting element value 1, and you can see that Q elements are 1, so the first element has been inserted. And again one choice, and I am going to insert 2, so 1 and 2, then again 1, 1, 2 and 3, then again 1, then 1, 2, 3 and 4, then again 1. I am inserting here right now 5. So you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right now if I am going to insert one more element, then definitely you would get the message Q is full. Why? Because there is no space over here. And now what I have to do is I'm going to remove element. So I'm pressing 2, so you can see that one element has been removed, and that was 1. Removed element is 1. And again I am writing here 2, so one more element, removed element is 2. And now if I am going to insert a value, you can see that 9, for example 9, so 3, 4, 5 and 9. So one more element has been inserted at the last, right? So in this way, for example one more element I am going to insert 88, so you can see that element as well, right? So again I am going to remove, and now Q is empty. If I am going to press 2, then definitely Q is empty. So one more time I am going to enter 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. So for example I am pressing 3, so display, so again the elements value would be displayed here. And now I am going to press 4, so thanks message, and then exit. So I think that you got the concept that how I implemented the concept of circular queue, and this was really easy. If you will go through the whole concept and you will revise my PPT that I have shown you, all the conditions I have covered, so in that way you will definitely understand the program, and you have to implement this into your computer. In that way you will definitely able to understand the concept. And you know, this is one of the most important question in the interview as well as in the gate. For example, you are giving the exam of gate or any other toughest examination, then at that time circular queue is the important question that has been asked into those written type questions, right? And in the exam you will definitely find out that some people ask you that you have to write the program of circular queue. So at that moment, if you are knowing better, then definitely this is really an easy way, for you to define yourself that you know the data structure queue. Thank you so much for watching this video. All the links of my video courses are below in the description, which are absolutely free. So in the next video we would learn new and wonderful things. Please subscribe this channel firstly to get the information of updated videos. In the comment section you can write your feedback about the video and also write your queries if you have any. Have a nice day ahead.